Hey there, welcome to or welcome back to No Pants Profits. My name's Richard, still sitting here with no pants and hopefully making plenty of profits. And today, which today is October 5th of 2022, I want to talk about October 4th, 2022, or as some may come to see it, the rebirth of Rivian. Now, full disclosure, and I'm going to show you in a minute, we're going to talk about Rivian, and we're going to talk about Rivian's competitors, and whether now is the time to buy more Rivian or not. It's likely the next few days we're actually going to have a down market, so it might be the time to pick up some shares in Rivian, which surged today almost 14%, 13.73%. Now, I will tell you, I actually have positions in at least three electric car makers, and I want to talk about those three and see which is the best buy. Well, not best buy, that's a store, but which is the best buy you can get right now. And I will, full disclosure, these are shares I have, not all of them, but these are shares I have in the three electric car companies we are going to talk about today, which is Rivian, Tesla, and Ford. We might throw in another few, and I do also have some Ford 2024 options. Now, Rivian, what happened today? And again, we're talking Rivian, Tesla, and Ford. I think I'm wearing an appropriate shirt. You see, I've got all the Spider-Mans pointing at each other, and that's really what's happening in the market nowadays. These three are the ones that are fighting. Now, yes, are there others out in the market nowadays? 100% there are, We can make that bigger, include Sono, which is a German company that we've covered on this channel before, that's doing solar panels on cars and other stuff like that. Rivian, GM, Toyota, Tesla, Ford, Lucid, all of those. And what's really cool is coming up, we're actually going to be looking into all of these electric vehicles at the Electrify Expo, which is happening down here in South Florida this weekend. Content to come next week. But here's the real question. Is now the time to actually be getting into Rivian? Now, I will tell you, and I'll show you, and I'll get everything. I bought Rivian. I actually bought these 34 shares of Rivian. I've day traded it here and there, but I have 34 long shares of Rivian that I got at $78 IPO price. I got them in the SoFi app at $78 IPO price. I've played, again, short daily, but these have been there forever. And you'll see I'm down 53.46%, even with the raise of a 14% today, I'm still down a huge amount. So I guess the question is, what really moved the stock today? And it's something that's going to move the stock going forward. And then we're going to take a look at some of the competitors in the field. So this is a story that's not really getting covered. Rivian has some good news about its EVs and some not so good news about its factories. Now, here's the important thing. When it comes to Tesla, a lot of people don't realize, and I want to give credit to, if you do watch on YouTube, you may watch Meet Kevin on YouTube. He's right on this. As far as Tesla goes, the factories are the product. So it's not really the cars, it's the factories. It's the ability to create cars, the ability to create trucks, not cyber trucks, but the ability to create cars, the ability to create trucks and everything like that. Rivian has some great news about building vehicles, but they have a big problem that no one's really talking about. And The Verge is one of the few publications that actually found this. And I want to thank The Verge, and I'll put the article down below. But you'll see, they have great news about their EVs. Now, today, being yesterday when you're seeing this, October 4th, today's October 5th, Rivian made over 7,000 electric vehicles and is on its goal to produce 25,000 vehicles by the end of the year. Now, that pales in comparison to Tesla making $1 million a year. 25,000 is like a rounding error. Even what Ford makes, 25,000 is essentially a rounding error. They're continuing their early stumbles to dominate the EV market. Now, remember, when Rivian got started up, yes, it did have a whole bunch of individual investors, but it also had two very large investors, Amazon and Ford. Now, I think Ford has pulled back a little bit, but Rivian is still, their main goal is not just to deliver these trucks right here and this SUV right here that you can see, but their main goal is to deliver an Amazon vehicle. Let's see if we can find it. Google.com. Let's see, Rivian Amazon truck, because not a lot of people see this. This is what not a lot of people see. They see the Rivians, but they don't see the Rivian Amazon trucks. And that's the main goal of what Rivian's got to deliver. But here's the problem. The stock went up 14% today, but they have some not so good news. The state of Georgia has said that they're not going to give them their incentives. They were going to have a factory that was going to cost $5 billion to conduct east of Atlanta, so near Atlanta. It was going to cost $5 billion to do, and they were going to have bonds for a tax subsidy for $1.5 billion of that. So for a large portion, for about a quarter of the factory, they were going to have tax subsidies that were going to bring jobs and stuff to the Atlanta, Georgia area, highly skilled jobs, and they were going to eventually produce at that factory 400,000 vehicles a year and employ upwards of 7,500 workers. They were trying to make Rivian's own version of a gigafactory. Rivian's own version of a gigafactory didn't work too well because usually these states pass these things easily like cake. It was a surprise outcome to what many considered a routine request by the local government out in the suburb outside of Atlanta to validate a bond agreement which would give Rivian that tax $1.5 billion over the period of time. It's been a lightning rod in the state, a lot of good stuff, and what happened was the court turned it down today. Now, this didn't get as much news because hey, we're on goal to hit our production, but the court turned down today their news as well. Rivian didn't decline on the judge's ruling, deferring to the state's Economic Development Council. These are all, move to this state, move your jobs to this state. You move your jobs to the state, we're going to give you tax benefits. This is literally everywhere. Amazon moves a lot of stuff to Florida. And, people are moving things every way, shape, form, and everything like that. And, as the entire country is looking to revitalize and grow domestic manufacturing, and so this comes from their state of Georgia's Economic Development Council. As the entire country is looking to revitalize and grow domestic manufacturing, and protect American jobs, secure the country's economic independence, we're disappointed and respectfully disagree with the judge's decision. What's been going on is there's actually been people that have been protesting this. And it's quite interesting, is that there's been, here we go, they're holding rallies, dabbling conspiracy theories, and even threatening local officials to keep Rivian from coming to Georgia. Now, that could be competitors funding these people. No one's saying it's not competitors funding these people. The world is a strange place. What's the difference between a conspiracy theory and the truth nowadays? It's about 6 months when a conspiracy theory comes out to be true. That's the truth. So, the thing is, Rivian is producing, they're on their goal, they're hitting their goal to make 25,000 vehicles. They can make their vehicles, but they can't scale without other plants. So they're making this currently in their Illinois plant. And they're trying to build a bigger plant. They're making it an Illinois plant, and they're trying to build a much bigger plant. Here's the reality of things, though. The reality of things is, when it comes to an electric truck, and it comes to an electric van, and I will tell you, as an owner of the F-150 Lightning, which there will be some videos coming up on that with them solar charging and stuff like that, the F-150 Lightning is a markedly better truck than the Rivian. The Rivian has things like vampire drain, weirdness with the tires, vampire draw, the batteries, weirdness with tires, everything like that. It's a very high-end truck, and Rivian is, they're still in the scheme of things. Where Rivian is they're in their ye old Model S phase. If with Tesla, when they had the Model S, they had the Model S out, and the idea of the Model S was to, eventually fund the Model 3, and the Model 3 was to eventually fund the Model Y. I don't think Rivian's ever going to be able to go lower cost in the game. They raise their prices, and they keep raising their prices, and keep raising their prices, and they're somewhat respecting it for people who already had a reservation. They don't have the self-driving that Tesla does, and I don't think they really have the ability to get to scale. Like Ford, and even companies like GM might actually have the ability to get to scale. So, the real question is, this factory is really hurting their ability to actually scale what they're doing. Yeah, they can get to that 25,000 vehicles, but what are they going to do after that? That's the big variable. Now, what I want to do is I want to look at the stocks for these companies. So we're going to first take a look at Rivian Stock. Again, Rivian Stock did really, really, really well today. Well, did really well on October 4th. And the last 5 days, though, it took a dip along with the rest of the market. To the past month, it's up 9.27%. Past 6 months, it's still down. Now, is this a buy the dip opportunity for Rivian? I mean, it's down almost 70% year to date. So, I mean, I don't know if that's really a buy the dip opportunity. It's down 72% all time from its IPO price. Or from its highest price. Let's not say from its IPO price, because it IPO'd at about $76. So on the IPO day, it got up to $130, and that just took a now, the stock is not the full intrinsic value, but we'll see. The market cap of Rivian is $33.26 billion. Now, someone who used to own a chunk of it and may still own a little chunk of it is Ford. Now, let's just take a look at the market cap of Ford and what's been going on with Ford stock. Now, you'll see the market cap of Ford. Ford makes a ton more vehicles than Rivian does, and does not have a huge market cap. I mean, if you take a look, so the market cap of Rivian is $33.26 billion, and the market cap of Ford is only $49.69 billion. You know what Rivian is? Rivian is really, it's Tesla in its early days. It's riding on hopes and dreams. But the real question comes down to, and again, we'll look at the last 5 years, and I think the last 5 years ain't going to look too good. Actually, they're going to look okay for Ford. Ford's about even in the past 5 years, or in the past 1 year. Yeah, if we're looking at the longest term, but let's go to 1 year just so we can see. So Ford's down 13%, Rivian's down 63%. Now, some people might say, hey, again, buy the dip opportunity on Rivian. But here's the important thing. Ford is producing, seemingly, a lot more cars. So, I mean, how many... Ford 2021. We got to go for the whole last year. Ford sold 3.9 million vehicles in 2021. And Rivian is celebrating 25,000 vehicles. Yes, everybody needs to start somewhere, but that market cap is insane. That market cap is crazy. And Rivian is a truck and a van manufacturer. I get it. But again, like I said, I do watch Alex on Autos, and I watch all the reviews. I have the F-150 myself, so I can make my own opinion. I have had a Tesla in the past, but if I watch the Rivian reviews, people are generally happy, but it's nothing really earth-shattering, mind-changing, anything like that. But again, we've also got the big boy in the room. I mean, look, Rivian. What's it? Rivian trucks. Okay, we don't care. Rivian has built, yeah, so last year they had built 56 of them. This time last year, a little bit less than this time last year, they had built 56 of their trucks, and now they're building 25,000. It's an interesting scale, but again, when we're taking a look at Ford, and we're taking a look at market cap, about 50 billion. We've got Rivian at 30-something billion, 33, 34, yeah, 33 billion. And then we got the big boy in the room. There's the big boy, Tesla. 781 billion with a B dollars. Now, based on the output, Tesla's probably not worth that either. You know, how many cars? How many cars has Tesla ever built? They sold 2 million cars as of 2021. How many vehicles has Tesla built? 3 millionth car in August 5th, 2022. They sold their 3 millionth car. Realistically, Ford sold that number of cars just in 2021 alone. And there were some shortages going on in 2021. And we can look at Ford 2022, which there's even more shortages going on. Full 2022. So we're not going to be able to get car numbers because they're not done. But the idea is Tesla is an innovative company. And I guess I do have money in Tesla, but here's the question. Is it much too overvalued? And I do believe that where Tesla is right now, it's overvalued. And I also believe that Elon Musk himself is getting incredibly distracted with things like this robot.
2022. I do.
You know, we've got things like... That's the only robot now that Tesla has that actually works. That is a Disney animatronic from a Disney theme park. It is nothing more. It is nothing less. all that is a Disney animatronic from a Disney theme park. It's Abraham Lincoln. Now, you know, you can literally type in great moments with Mr. Lincoln from Disneyland. This is the Tesla robot with some skin on it. Literally, that's... let's see. Here comes Mr. Lincoln.
So simple. A clear definition of the word liberty.
That's the Tesla robot with some skin on it. That is a distraction. Also, you'll see as of today, and we were looking at Tesla stock, Tesla took quite a slump today. Now, why did Tesla take a slump today? Well, because Elon's getting distracted. He's getting involved with Twitter and other things like that. I like to ask the world, hey, Elon, where's that Cybertruck you promised people? There's an F-150 right there behind the camera. Now, why is there an F-150 right there behind the camera? Well, there's an F-150 right there. Well, there's a wall, so I can't really turn on the camera to show you. But there's an F-150 electric, F-150 light behind the camera, because Ford actually produced that vehicle. Ford actually shipped that vehicle. I think that's what's important to get. Ford, and we're going to go back to Ford, is Ford saw Q3 growth despite September declines. So you'll see that Ford is getting a Q3 sales boost according to fresh sales data. The company is recovering from its supply chain issues. Rivian is also in place to meet its goal for the years. Yep. And took studio after a long break. These Q3 numbers are coming in. A story about execution. Some companies are doing better than that. So Ford came out this morning, an hour ago. Sales up 16% to 450,000 units. We're comparing something whose market caps are not that far off. And one is making 450,000 units in a quarter, and the other is making 25,000 units in a year. Yes, I get the scale. Yes, I understand one's just starting up. But it's got a lot of money, it's got a lot of funding, and it's having problems with their plant right now, which is kind of being buried there. Tesla putting out their numbers, so they're getting there, you know. And I think Ford is actually going to be the most likely contender to get to a mainstream electric car. I think that's the goal. The goal is to make a mainstream electric car. A car that is on parity, not parity, not parity, not parity, but P-A-R-I-T-Y. Ford is probably the first company that's going to make a car that's on parity with a gas car. Now, will that car have a 300-mile range? No. But will it be something that you could drive around the city and be happy driving around the city and have 100, 150 miles? And when you go on a road trip, hey, you might want to take your gas car. But Ford is really, 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 really going to be the first one, in my feeling, that's got that parity for gas and electric cars. Now, there is one other option here, which we haven't really looked at yet, which is General Motors. And General Motors is kind of in the same boat. They're right around that same number as Ford in market cap. And General Motors is actually putting out real good numbers too. If you take a look at the news, there's been some news on General Motors. GM outsells Toyota. GM third quarter auto sales jumped 24%. Good happy days for GM. You know, this happened to all these car manufacturers at the same time. So, you know, if we look at GM, happy days for GM as well. And here's the important thing. When you're comparing where you want to put your money, look at market cap. Don't look at share price. You want to look at market cap relative to what the companies are producing. Now, again, Elon is crazy. I love Elon. You know, this is Starlink right here. I love my Starlink. I love a lot of what Elon's doing, but he's getting too distracted at Tesla. We need a Cybertruck, not an AI bot. Because here's the thing. By the time the Cybertruck hits the market, Ford is going to have general availability of the electric F-150. Think about that. By the time a single Cybertruck hits the market with its no rear view mirrors and weird design, and you have to close the tonneau in a certain way, and it can't actually haul stuff. Yeah, it's a truck. It can fit the Tesla Cyber Quad in there, but it can't do much else. By the time Tesla's got that ready to go, you're going to be able to go to any Ford dealer in the country and buy an F-150 Lightning. That's a problem for Tesla. You know, and also the Mustang Mach-E is coming up more and more and more and more and more. So here's the thing: there's not as much margins in these things. They're charging a lot more for them. They still have to use a dealership model, even though a lot of these EV companies are going away from the dealership model. I think that Ford and GM are a far better buy just due to market cap and vehicles that are being produced than Tesla is or Rivian is. And, Rivian's getting a lot of the green lights now. That's why we got the green lights on, because they're making some waves, they're making some news. But again, they're leaving out the news that the factory is the product. Ford has a great factory setup. GM has a great factory setup. They've been building both the Bolt and the Volt for many years, and their electrification factory being part electric and full electric. They've got the Bolt and they've got the Volt. Ford has a whole factory for the F-150s and the Mustang Mach-E's. As soon as production comes out, I think that Ford's really going to be the winner here, and I'm not one that won't put my proverbial money where my mouth is, and I like to share this, because I'm in the hole right now. So don't think I'm talking from the hole, but I mean, I'm in the hole right now, and Ford did get to $22 a share, and I've got a $22 call on Ford. Now, let's be honest, I'm down 79% right now, but I buy more. Every time Ford goes down, I buy more, because it is within reach. It truly is within reach, because if we look at the last few months, let's look at the last year. There's Ford at $25. That was in January, when everyone was posturing about clean vehicles and clean this and clean that, clean this and clean that, clean everything like that. Ford went up to that number. So I know it's easily achievable again as production increases. So it might sound insane, but I see easily $25, $30, $40 in Ford's future, which realistically would just double or triple their market cap, which is not crazy. That's where I think we're headed. And again, it's very similar, and I do have some options here as well that, I'll be honest, are down a little bit. It's very similar. I have another bet on General Motors. Not down nearly as much. Yeah. But I think it's very similar for General Motors. I think the market cap on both Ford and General Motors are so low that as the technology scales, and they do one thing important, they got to get rid of dealers. They got to turn dealers into service centers, and I'm pretty sure they're going to do that. I've talked to my dealer. I have the Ford, and I've talked to my dealer, and they're going for the certification right now to sell EVs, and they're going to be one of the only dealers in the area that's going to do that. And what's going to happen? Well, the Ford Blue division is going to kind of fizzle out all of the ICE, internal combustion or ICE vehicles. They're going to filter out all those dealers, and all that's going to be left are Ford Blue dealers that are eventually Ford's going to have a price you pay on the website, and you're done. I had to pay over sticker for my truck because that was what it took to get. It wasn't insanely over sticker, but it was over sticker there. Now, again, I like Ford. I like GM actually more than Tesla. Now, the reason I still have Tesla. The reason I still have Tesla stock is I did sell 1/3 of my Tesla stock earlier in the year, about a month and a half ago. I sold 1/3 of my Tesla stock, but I don't want to pay gains on that much in Tesla gains, so I'm not selling all of my Tesla stock, but I sold 1/3 of my Tesla stock. You see, I've got Tesla stock at a 516% return that I'm moving out slowly over time. I wish I would have sold more of it at about $300, but as is the world. But we've got to talk about one more dark horse in this space, because there's one more dark horse that might be an interesting place to put your EV investments. And you're going, what's that dark horse? Well, that dark horse is, nobody even knows if they're really making a car, but that dark horse is Apple. Apple could come in and take everyone's lunch. Now, Apple's obviously not going to make the car themselves. They're going to have Kia or some foreign automaker make it for them that's not already making their own large volume of cars. But people do believe, that Apple's making a car. I will tell you, the head of Apple's car division mysteriously went back to Ford. So that progress might not be going too well. But here's the real reality. What you've got is you've got all of these companies, and again, you've got, whether you want to think of it just as these three, or you want to think of it in the bigger photos with the Rivian and GM and Toyota and Tesla and Lucid and Ford and Sono. If you want to think of it in the bigger picture with all of those there, that is something as well. But where I'm putting my money right now, every opportunity I have to buy the dip, I'm buying Ford shares. because I think they're going to be the winner here. And people think I'm crazy, found on road dead, and everything like that. But I do think that Ford is going to be the winner here because I think not only do they have the best-selling car in America, I don't know if you know this, the best-selling car in America every year is the Ford F-150 pickup truck. And one of the things that I've personally done is, since I have my F-150, I've gone to my friends that are truck owners, and I've let them drive it. Every single one of them loves it. And over time, the cost is going to come down. Over time, they're going to make a Maverick, an entry level, not an F-150. They're going to make a Maverick pickup truck that's going to cost, 35,000, 25,000, 30,000, somewhere in that spectrum. And if you could get people into an electric pickup truck, which again, pickup trucks and specifically Ford pickup trucks are the #1 selling vehicles in America, and they sell pretty high around the world as well. That's a real big kicker in the EV space. So I do think as Ford scales these, and they have some sitting, waiting for semiconductors, waiting for wiring harnesses. Here's a little fun factoid to share with you. Do you know the country that makes the most wiring harnesses in the world for vehicles? And almost everybody uses them but Tesla. It's Ukraine. Ukraine makes the most wiring harnesses for vehicles in the world, and that's why there might be a little problem getting your vehicles right now. A little bit of a vehicle shortage. That's a little inside baseball. But here's the thing. I think this is a perfect opportunity to get into a low market cap stock, relatively speaking, based on the number of vehicles they're making, like Ford. And I will be dollar cost averaging, meaning buying a little bit of Ford on every single dip, because I think that Rivian ain't going nowhere with the scale they're doing, especially when they're getting their factories denied. But Ford, if I'm a guy sitting around with no pants, like I am, and I don't want to lose my shirt, Ford is where I put my money. See if I'm right in the long run. But I think I am. This is Richard from No Pants Profits saying, you get an F. An F is the symbol for Ford. Bye!